So we have a lot going on and a lot of new information coming out, and all of us are just trying to make sense of this horrible tragedy that took place. And recently there has been new audio released of Maddie's ex-stepdad, Stephen Young, doing an interview with police. Stephen was married to Jenn Soto when Maddie was still really young. They got divorced. He has since remarried. But I wanted to talk to you about this one because he played a big part in Maddie's life, especially when she was younger. And he had some really interesting things to say. But if you have not been following the Madeline Soto case, I will link a playlist down in the description for you so you can go get all caught up there. Otherwise, you might feel a little bit lost in this video. Please note that this content is intended for mature audiences only, and I get all my information from public sources. You can very easily do your own research and form your own opinions. So I'm going to do as I typically do with these interviews, and I'm going to share the parts of it that I found most insightful and most interesting and discuss them with you. But you can listen to the whole audio on some great channels out there, such as You Grey's Investigates, also Grizzly True Crime, and Plunder, and The Docket. I'm sure there are more, but those are the ones that are coming to my mind right now. But I'm going to give credit to Grey Hughes Investigates for this one because that's where I listened to this audio. Just be aware that this interview took place on the 5th of March, which was 4 days after police discovered Maddie's body. And Stephen was married to Jenn Soto way before Stefan Sterns ever came into the picture. So just keep that in mind when you listen to this. So without further ado, let's jump into that first clip.
Do you remember when that was?
We were married on March 14th, 2015. I can remember that because it's Pi Day, 3.1415. We divorced, I think, in 2016, maybe 2017. It'd be in Kissimmee Records, though. It was done here in Osceola County.
Okay. Where did you meet her?
Online, OkCupid.
OkCupid is like a dating site or something like that? Okay.
Website. Yeah, it's like pink and blue and before Tinder and all these apps came out and stuff. Yeah, I met her on OkCupid. Can I take out my phone? I took some dates on dates that I could remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I figured you guys would be asking about how long I've known them and stuff and whatnot. I think I met her around summer of 2013. Yeah, we were married March 14th, 2015, and I think we divorced somewhere at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, so around there. But again, I know it should all be in Osceola Records.
That's fine. And when you guys were married, did you live here, or did you...
We lived in the apartment where everything happened.
Okay, so in Venetian Bay.
Yeah, it was her, Maddie, my daughter, and me.
Okay, did anybody else live there at the time?
Juan.
Her
dad.
Okay.
I think he still owns that unit, and he lived there in the bottom floor unit. Maddie had a room, my daughter had a room, and me and Jed had a room upstairs.
What was your end?
I added the beginning of that clip so you could hear for yourself how they met, when the relationship took place, so that you could just have an idea of the timeline of their relationship. But I found it interesting that he mentioned that while he was married to Jenn, they were living in that townhouse, the same townhouse that the horrific events took place in this year. But he said that Juan, Jenn's dad, lived in the bottom unit of that townhouse, and that his daughter, who was around the same age as Maddie, by the way, had her own room, and Maddie had her own room. And in the way he's saying it, I'm assuming that Maddie slept in her own room. And if I think back to all the interviews I've watched with Jenn and even Stefan himself, they made it sound like Maddie couldn't sleep alone. And it sounds to me like she did when she was much younger. And they made it sound, Stefan said something like she needed human touch, and Jenn also said a bunch of stuff like that. Which to me is just ridiculous, because what was Jenn going to do? Was she going to let Maddie sleep in her bed until she turned 18?
Jennifer's relationship like?
It was pretty good for the first couple of years we were together. She started having some mental health issues, which...
Like what?
She would just get really depressed, and she would just kind of shut down some days, and so I'd just be on full parent duty, just take care of both kids and do the pickups and everything and do the dinner. And I was in school, I was working full time, and it was exhausting, and it just got to the point where her mental health was just stacking up, and I couldn't be there as much, and I needed to take my daughter out of that environment. And
okay, so right off the bat, this man is saying some very interesting things. He was saying, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said that in the beginning of their marriage, everything went well, things were going great. And then Jenn started to have some mental health problems. And then she would sort of shut down, pass the kids off to him, and he would have to do everything, including taking care of the kids all by himself. Now, once again, Jenn is passing off her motherly duties to another man who is not the biological father of Maddie. Granted, he was her husband, and he really sounds to me like he was a good guy, but still, she passed off her duties to this man, her duties as a mother. And let me make this clear, I don't think that mental health issues are just nothing. I know they can be very serious. I struggle with anxiety. I have a family member who has severe bipolar and ADHD, but I've never dropped my responsibilities as a mother, and I can even speak for my family member who struggles with mental health issues. He is a wonderful father to his kids. So this to me is not an excuse. You cannot just shut down as a mother. You cannot pass off your duties as a mother to someone else. You need to protect your child. And I really do have empathy for single moms, because I know I'm in a situation where I am extremely blessed. I have my husband, who is also the biological father of our son, and he is great. I can always depend on him. He is so responsible. He's a great father. So if I want to take a nap, he's there. He's there to take on the responsibility of watching our son. But unfortunately, single mothers do not have that luxury and cannot trust just anyone to look after their child. In this crazy world, there is no way that you can do that. But then he goes on to say that when things got really bad with Jenn, he had to get out, and he also had to remove his daughter Ashlyn out of that environment. And let me just say this. This guy sounds like a really good dude, actually. He doesn't sound like a bad guy. It sounds to me like he really tried his best. But I couldn't help but think that Maddie was left behind. Maddie had to stay in that environment when this man felt like it wasn't a good environment for his own daughter. And I'm not saying it was his responsibility to, do something about that, because Maddie was not his biological daughter. Jenn was her mom. She needed to make sure that there was a suitable environment for her daughter. But I couldn't help but feel so sad for Maddie, because nobody came to her rescue.
We still co-parented. Like, Maddie to me is my other daughter. I was in her life for 11 years. Like, me and my daughter, like, that was my daughter's sister. That's the only close thing she's ever had to a sister. We still have birthday gifts. We talked to her. My daughter and her best friend played games with Maddie every month for years online together. And like, I talked to Maddie all the time. I'd pop over and talk to her and ask how things were, and I thought she was in good hands.
And like I said, this guy, he really sounds like a really good and a nice person. And he was trying to stay in touch with Maddie, and he was still involved in her life somewhat. And I think that's a lot more than we see from most stepdads, not even to mention ex-stepdads. So all I'm saying is I wouldn't hate on this guy, because he really could not have seen this coming.
And I know that me and Jenn didn't work out, but to me she was still a friend, and I still loved and cared about Maddie. And so I tried to be a friend to Stefan too when he came in the picture. Like, if he's in Maddie's life, I want to get to know this person, so I try to get to know him some, try to be a friend to him.
Where did you meet him?
I met him through Jenn. I think she said that he had met him through a real estate company that his parents had at the time. I don't remember positions they had there.
Okay.
But she said she's involved with him, and I loved Maddie, so anybody that's involved in her life, I wanted to know. And so I tried to get to know him, be a friend to him. We started connecting on like tabletop games and stuff. Like I was into D&D. I think he's introduced me like Star Wars Legion and this Robomech game. So like I tried to play some of those with him and stuff. We went and shot guns before. I looked it up. I think we went to Tanarak. It's on the way between here and Tampa. That's a public shooting range down there. But he was just so commercialistic. And
What do you mean?
He just always wanted to buy the next thing. And like when I would invest in a game, like I just want to play the game for a while. Like I've been playing the same D&D game with my sister for 2 years. It's the same campaign. Like I like playing the same thing and not reinvesting in new stuff. And he was always the next thing. And we got in a little like argument one day. I went to visit them down in Northport, and I essentially called him a sellout for always buying new shit. And kind of had a little tantrum, and then we just kind of stopped talking after that.
When do you think that?
He is saying here that when Stefan Sterns came into the picture, he even did his best to try and get to know Stefan. He started spending time with him because he wanted to see who was around Maddie all the time, which, again, what a wonderful thing for this man to do. I mean, he didn't have to do that, but he took the time to do that. And he mentioned that Stefan was like obsessed with the toys, and this is something that keeps coming up, and a lot of what he said corroborates what Stefan's parents have said about him buying all of this stuff. And you know what? I don't have an issue with that if men want to do that and they want a hobby, but then you need to make the money yourself to do that. And this man, he couldn't keep a job, and it almost sounds to me like this was like an obsession, all of these toys, or call them what you want, hobbies. But it makes me wonder if what he was doing to Maddie, and just trigger warning here because it's another dark thought here, but I have to go there. It makes me wonder if this obsession with buying these things and getting the money to buy it didn't play a big part in him doing what he did to Maddie, also to get the money by selling the images and selling that disgusting footage that he had of her.
I have Jenn, who's been like a mother to my daughter for 11 years now. And then I have my wife, who's incredible. We call ourselves a nice blended family. We've all tried to help each other out.
That's the young lady downstairs?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we all try to help each other out. We're all friends. I mean, now it's, really hard to look at wedding photos and stuff and seeing some of these people in it. And But sorry, I'm a little venti right now. It's been frustrating, this whole thing, and trying to wrap my head around what happened.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So
sorry, you can ask me what.
That's okay. That's okay. Take your time. I know this is a tough time for you guys right now.
You can just hear how emotional this man gets about all of this. He loved Maddie. He knew this little girl. He spent time with her. He played a big part in her life, especially in her younger years. And he even goes on to say, now when he sees things like his wedding photos and he sees those people in it, and I obviously know he's talking about Stefan, but I'm wondering if he's also maybe alluding to the fact that when he sees Jenn in those wedding photos, he gets upset after what happened.
I lived in Anderson, I think, when I first met him. That's up in South downtown, Anderson Street.
Okay.
That's when I first met him. He never went over there, but I would come down and visit Jenn over there. And unfortunately, I let her sleep over there with Maddie and stuff in the same house, but... Like, she would go down there and visit them. And so I think it's when I first started meeting him. I lived in South Orlando. And then...
When was that? Do you remember?
So here he's talking about his daughter actually going to spend the night at Maddie's place. She's going to spend the night there because they were like sisters. And that is with Jenn and Stefan. Oh my gosh, with Stefan present. Now you can imagine how this father must be feeling. But the first thing I thought of was that in a previous interview with police, Jenn Soto actually said that she never hosted sleepovers, which is obviously untrue if we believe what this man is saying, because Ashlyn went to spend the night there to be with Maddie. And I really feel bad for this dad because He lets his daughter sleep over there. I mean, he was married to Jenn. He never saw anything weird, and he thought Stefan was a good guy. And he lets his daughter sleep over there, and then realizes now, after all of this has happened, that he let his daughter sleep over at a house where a predator, where a monster was present. That must be such a scary realization.
Jenn always said that, like, he had depression and anxiety, and sometimes he'd be, like, short to temper, but she never mentioned that he got violent, because I would ask her, like, does he get violent when he gets angry? Like, that's a whole other thing. Like, someone can get frustrated, work through it, and versus someone getting violent, and she never said he got violent.
Yeah, he's saying how Jenn told him about all of Stefan's mental health issues. And I couldn't help but think, and I'm sorry for going back to this the whole time, but this is something I will never understand. You don't let your child go to bed with a grown man and sleep in a room alone with him, but you definitely don't send your child to do that with a grown man who has mental issues and who you know is taking some serious medication. I will never, ever, ever get that.
That's Maddie. Like, the first few years they were together, I'm like, hey, how is Stefan? Like, is he treating you nice, you know?
How old was she when they got together?
See here, when me and Jenn split up, she was 4. So she probably would have been, like, in early elementary school, like 5 or 6, but around there. And you would
have these conversations when she was in kindergarten, 1, 2, or 2nd grade?
Yeah, so she would have been about 6 then when he came into her life, I think. That sounds about right. So, yeah, I would have been around, like, 1st grade and stuff, because I remember I was talking to her, like, oh, you're starting school again, like, and then I had to start elementary school and help get wrapped up in that. And it's like, oh, how's school, how's home, you know? How's mom? She doing okay? You know, because I know a lot of times, like, her grandma would take care of her some days and whatnot. So just trying to check on Jenn kind of through the daughter, you know, just see how her perspective on life is and and whatnot. But
so Maddie was 4 when Stephan and Jenn got divorced, and she was around 6 when Stefan Sterns came into her life, which the thought of that makes me shudder. But once again, this man is sounding very sweet, because he said he would check in with Maddie and he would check with her how Stefan was with her. But I also found it very interesting that he sort of said, like, Maddie would be passed off to the grandmother a lot. And I'm wording it that way because I'm thinking of Maddie's bio dad's interview. And he was also, like, alluding to the fact that Maddie was being passed around between family members a lot. And listen, there's nothing wrong with grandmothers or family members spending time with their grandkids or whatever the case is. But just the way both of these men said it makes it sound like it's not like your normal situation, not your normal visit with a family member, like she was passed off to them.
When you guys lived together, how was, like, the dynamic? I know you said you guys shared a room and Ashlyn had a room.
Yeah,
right?
Maddie would share a room together. I think they had a bunk bed for a little while and shared a room, and then one became their playroom. But they went back and forth. They had separate rooms.
At any point, did you guys, like, share? I know when kids are young, they sleep with their parents and stuff like that. Did that ever happen with?
When I first met Jenn, Maddie slept in the bed with Jenn.
Okay.
I wasn't comfortable with that at her age, unless it was like a nightmare or something like that. Then, yeah, of course, my daughter can come and join me in bed if she has a nightmare. But I felt like there's a point that, like, you need to start letting them sleep on their own and self-soothe at night. So I would always encourage the self-soothe, go to bed on your own.
And when I heard this, I was like, yes, finally, someone in the circle gets it. A child needs to learn to sleep alone and in their own room. And as he said, to self-soothe. But the thing to me just is that a real man, and I said this in a previous video, a real man would not feel comfortable with sleeping with a little girl who is not their daughter. They wouldn't sleep alone with them. And this man just proved that point of mine. He didn't feel comfortable with it. He wouldn't do it.
On FaceTime or Maddie or anything like that, what was, like, their demeanor? Was there any point since you left till up to here recently. Any kind of demeanor changes between Jennifer or Maddie?
Maddie seemed off for a few years, honestly. And I thought it was just, she's going through changes. It's the teenage years coming. It's the puberty, you know. I remember my daughter going through depressive stage. You know, right at the end of, you know, elementary school, but, you know, that was right at the start of COVID and stuff, so I wasn't sure, like, how much is, like, an equal comparison for a mood change. And to me, like, it seemed normal to, like, my daughter was going through. She went through a massive depression through, you know, middle school, COVID, lots of things going on, so in my head, it was just like, okay, she's going through changes, just keep talking to her, keep getting the two of them to hang out as much as they can online, we'll get down their floors, see each other soon, let's see if we can fly them up, you know, just trying to get more of the family aspect together, and I thought it was teenage years.
Gotcha. How long? You said that was going on for a few years, you think?
Yeah, she's kind of felt like different to talk to since like late elementary school. I don't know, just she seemed different.
Did Jen seem different at all?
Jen doesn't seem different. She's just seemed like she's just always trying to figure out what she needs to do with her psychologist to get by, and it feels like her like trying to figure that out with a psychologist is always like an experiment. And I feel like she's trying to figure out what to do to get herself here and to be functioning with her mental health issues, but with all the back and forth with doctors, at least in my opinion, it's just always a game of, okay, try this, and so sometimes she gets a little more checked out as they're trying different meds. And
hindsight is 2020, and this is the tough thing about this whole situation for the people who really loved Maddie but who didn't interact with her every single day. You see, Maddie was at an age where changes happen, you know, in kids. She's becoming a teenager. She's going through puberty. And if they maybe see her one day and she looks off, it would be very easy, like, to think maybe, you know, she's just being a teenager. But you know who should have noticed that something wasn't right? Her mom. Jenn should have picked this up. And the more and more I look at everything and all the evidence, it just really feels to me like Jenn didn't know Maddie. Like it's almost like she wasn't involved in her life. There's so many things that she just didn't know about Maddie. And it makes me wonder, how? What was she doing all the time? Was she sleeping all of the time? Was she passing Maddie off to family members or to Stefan to take care of? Because how did she not know that something was seriously wrong in her little girl's life? And at the very end of that clip, he is saying what I've been suspecting all along. She was so focused on herself, on her mental health, on her medication. And he even says there that it was almost to him like it was this experiment. And I just feel so sorry for Maddie because she had to exist with that. She had to exist in that environment. Now, in this next clip, Stephan is going to share with police what Jenn told him when Maddie went missing.
And I was trying to talk to her. I was trying to figure what happened. And she had told me... Sorry, I'm trying to remember.
That's okay.
She had told me that Maddie was missing and that Stefan had taken her to the school, but he had made a bunch of stupid mistakes and he accidentally deleted his phone and what the other thing he said, and he forgot his phone and Maddie forgot his phone, which didn't surprise me. My daughter forgets her phone all the time, but like him not having his phone I felt was shocking because I remember him I always saw him with his phone. He was always on Reddit. He was always typing away at something. But
do you know what was really strange about this part for me? And just try and keep up with me here because it makes sense in my mind, okay? But this is the day after Maddie was reported missing, okay? And this man, he's phoning Jenn. He wants to know just what happened. What were the events that led up to her disappearing? And Jenn is telling him the story, but she includes... oh, Stefan made a bunch of mistakes and he reset his phone. And I'm thinking, you are telling the story of how your daughter went missing. how does that, at that point, with what she claimed that she knew at that point, how does Stefan leaving his phone at home or resetting his phone, how is that an important part of the story? I'm thinking if it were me, that would have been like a side thought. I wouldn't even have included it. I would have said, listen, this is where she was dropped off. This was where she was last seen. This is the situation. I wouldn't even have thought of that. And that to me is suspicious because it's almost like she's there already, even to her ex-husband, she's basically saying what Stefan Sterns is saying verbatim. It's almost like she's already setting everything up to protect him so that everyone would have the story on their lips when they spoke to police. Is that making any sense to you, what I'm saying? It's making really good sense in my mind, and I really hope you get what I'm saying there.
You know, I thought that they were both, you know, looking out for her, and now I just don't know what to think anymore, you know? But...
Now, was this talking to Jenn over the phone or text message? Or
I think this was a phone call I had with them. I think I called. I finally gotten a hold of her because I wanted to hear her voice, to hear if she sounded like when she said these things. You know.
Now, when you were talking to her over the phone, like you said, you're hearing her voice saying these things. What she was saying, was that kind of like her normal tone or a different tone, or like, how would you describe it?
It sounded like anxious Jenn. Like, it sounded like something's wrong, and she couldn't wrap her head around it. Like sometimes she has to take her meds, but you can still tell in her tone sometimes how she is, and I could tell she was a little muted, probably from meds she had to take, but I could tell her anxiety was at 100. If you know, even with some.
So here he is trying to describe to police how Jenn sounded to him over the phone. And he described it as anxious. She sounded anxious. But the question on everybody's mind is, was she anxious because she was involved and she was scared they were going to get caught? Or was she anxious because she was truly distressed about the fact that her daughter was missing and she didn't know where she was?
With Ashlyn, since this has all happened, Ashlyn confided into.
I've asked her a lot of questions, not try to be too pointed, but hopefully to get some stuff. Asked her, did he ever try and spend alone time with you, or try and just hang out with you and Maddie alone when Jenn wasn't around? Did Maddie ever talk about him, specifically? Did she ever say anything positive or negative? But was there at any point in time she wanted to specifically talk about him, in any way? Did you ever see a mood change? And they're talking about it, and she was yeah, the past couple years, she's been they almost stopped playing games because Maddie was just destroying her stuff on Minecraft, and it was frustrating my daughter, and she was I'm done playing with her. And then I guess a few months ago she just started playing nice and started playing better. And so I'm trying to think about this with the timeline. I'm trying to remember. I was is this when Jenn kicked Stefan out of the house?
When was that?
I'm trying to remember when they separated. I'm trying to figure that date. Was that a few months ago? Is that when Maddie started lightening up and started feeling better and stopped being destructive to everybody around her? And did she start feeling like she could push back on this guy, after being gone for a few months, and then this happened? And
that part broke my heart because Maddie was acting out, and she was acting out for good reason, but nobody knew about it. This little girl, it was like a cry for help, but it was no one saw, no one heard, nobody could see what was going on behind the scenes. And this little girl was suffering in silence. And then she got better. She got better when Stefan left, when he moved out. And nobody ever knew what this girl was experiencing internally. That is devastating to me, to even think of a 13-year-old dealing with that all on her own, and probably just trying to pick up the pieces and heal all by herself once he moved out. But then he comes back. He comes back and he murders her. It's devastating. And in this next clip, they are going to be talking about Stefan's activity on Reddit.
At least in my experience. I'm sure you guys use way more than me, so you guys may know more about that. But
so if that's his username, you can see what forums he's part of.
you can see the ones he's posted in, just like all the places he's made comments and stuff. He has like 6.5 years of history, it looks like. The past month, like it's all like gaming stuff. You can see the progression over time. Like I saw a picture of him 6 years ago at my house playing tabletop games, like a picture of the board that we were playing on, like adult board games and guns, and then Nerf guns and Tamagotchis and just more childish stuff. You can see the way he talks starts to change online. There's more emojis. His gender starts to become more generic and stuff. It's like you can see like there's a warp in the way he acts online over these. It's weird, like seeing this change, and then now it's all. And then like the past month, you can see like Ask Teens.
Ask Teens, porn Ask Teens?
No, it's just like teens can ask questions about life, and there was even one. Where is it? Sorry, I don't know if you guys already looked through this or not. Or I'm sure you guys have another team who probably does all the IT stuff, or I don't know. Yeah, there was one that was a girl was asking about being pregnant and what to do, and he responded on it, and it freaked me the fuck out. Like this, I'm pregnant and I don't know what to do, and him responding.
Sorry, I gotta zoom in.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Greatest.
I'll let you read that, Mark. I want to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
When you were with Jenn.
And then they never tell us how he responded to that. If any of you have those Reddit threads or those conversations anywhere, please send them to me. I would love to know what Stefan Sterns' advice would be to a young teenage girl who is pregnant. I mean, just thinking about that makes me sick to my stomach, but it is also so disturbing if you think about the theories that we have about the motive of all of this. And I'm obviously talking about the theory that Maddie might have been pregnant, or that Stefan thought that she was pregnant. So him responding to that teen that said that she was pregnant and she didn't know what to do, I mean, I would love to know what his advice was, but it really just gives me the chills. He is a sick pervert.
Was she pretty outgoing with you? Was she more reserved?
She was so bubbly. I always describe she was a Sour Patch Kid. She was always a little sour before she was sweet, but you have to get through that little bit of sour with her, that little bit of attitude. Like every picture of her you see, like she was a little hip hop. She was just like, it's always a little she had like this face too. She could stare across her like, what are you doing? Do you have ice cream? I know you have ice cream. Like, she's had this way about her. She could like pierce into you and make you question what you're doing for a second. Like, hold on, what? Okay, I'll share with you, kid. You're cute, you know. And she was a brilliant kid, and she was smart in many ways, bullheaded and all the rest.
Did she?
I wanted you to hear how he described little Maddie. And I just loved it. And I was so relieved when I heard this, because I have hardly heard anyone speak about Maddie in such a loving way. I love the fact that he called her bubbly and cute. It's really a lot more than I can say from what I've heard Jenn Soto say. I haven't heard Jenn speak this way about her own daughter at all. If I'm wrong and I have missed it, please let me know. If there is an interview out there where she talks about how cute Maddie was, or how beautiful she was, or anything positive. I've heard abnormal. I hope this won't turn into a Woody Allen situation. I've heard very strange things, but I really haven't heard anything positive come out of her mouth concerning Maddie.
Nothing. Like, if I had gotten anything, I would have called you guys. Like, I want anybody responsible for this, to have the justice served. No matter who it is, I want them to be taken care of.
How would you describe Jennifer and Maddie's relationship?
They were really close. They were really loving. Jenn sometimes could be distant depending on where she was at with her mental state, but she was always there for Maddie. Sometimes she would, I don't check out's the right word, but she just would be an overload, and she would just ask her mom to take care of Maddie. But she really did love Maddie and Ash, and really tried to take care of them. At least I thought. think she's just had so many mental issues that it caused lapses that caused this.
Now, this was his perception of the relationship that Jenn and Maddie had. And he said they were close, they were loving. And basically, just from everything he's seen, it was a mother-daughter relationship, just normal, you know. But he does mention in there that Jenn would check out sometimes. It just makes me feel so bad for Maddie, because unfortunately what we do know is that neglect played a big part in Maddie losing her life at the end of the day. And here comes the $1 million question.
This is a difficult question, but it has to be asked, and it's asked of other people as well. Do you think Jenn had anything to do, or do you think she had knowledge of what was happening to Maddie?
I've been trying to ask myself that ever since I found out Stefan was arrested, and I thought that he was, somebody that was there to protect Maddie. And honestly, I think she could have made enough, I don't say stupid decisions, but wrong decisions with timing meds and things like that this kind of stuff could have happened. But I don't think there's any way she would have deliberately known, or if she had known, wouldn't have tried to get her out, of that situation. Like, she has family she can go to. She has friends like me and other places that she knows she can go to another state to escape someone. I felt like if she really felt like she was a danger, she would have gotten out.
So from what he knows, he is saying no, he cannot see that Jenn had any involvement with this. I have to say it's difficult for me to even conceive of that, because we have to remember this was happening to Maddie for years, okay, in the house, under her nose. So I don't know, Jenn. I could be wrong, but it's really difficult to believe that. I also think it's really hard for this man to imagine that someone that he was married to for years, that they could be capable of something like this. And I really do understand that. And from everything he's seen, she's never showed any signs that she could do something like that. And hey, everybody knows I'm not the biggest Jenn Soto fan, especially not the way that she did things, okay? But I could be wrong. She might have not had anything to do with this, but then what did that checking out of hers look like? I mean, did she just pass out for days, or what was she doing?
Like, once I found it was him, it was just like, I defended this guy. I thought that he was there for her. Like, I would not have tried to defend this guy if I knew in any way, shape, or form that he was in any way culpable. And I feel like an idiot.
What point did that change for you?
Where
you went from, hey, they might have the wrong guy, let's get him an attorney, to F this guy?
Once I found out that they found all the stuff on his phone. Okay. Once that came out, I'm like, what the I was surprised.
How did you hear about? Was it through the media, or was it through Jenn?
A combination of they both about came in at the same time. I think Jenn was in questioning at that time. I wasn't able to talk to her for too much around then. No, I think she had messaged me before I saw it on the media that he was arrested, because she was in shock that she had seen it and was told about it.
Do you think it was genuine, her being in shock?
I can never read somebody through text. Texts are emotionless.
He is having a more appropriate reaction to the images and footage that the police found on Stefan's phone of Maddie than what Jenn, her mother, did. Okay, that is crazy in and of itself. But I found it interesting the way the police are questioning him. And I can just hear that they are so suspicious of Jenn. That's why they keep asking, how did she sound? Did she sound sincere? They are suspicious as hell of this woman.
And she was trying to figure out, like, what degree should this guy be punished. And I was like, do it. Like, whatever if he committed a crime and they're asking you to press the charges, do it. And yes, she had told me before I saw on the news, because she was asking, was like, yes, press the charges, do it. Like, don't question yourself right now. He committed a crime. You let them press the charges. You let the police do what they need to do. So yeah, I did find out before the news.
She is trying to figure out what degree this guy should be punished. Are you joking? If I had to see a man, images of a man, doing that to my child, I wouldn't have to think about it. You could ask me right there on the spot. I'd tell you death. That's the degree. It's all weird. I mean, it's weird. Why would you need to tell a mom in that position that she needs to press charges? Like, hello, duh, obviously, press charges. He's a monster. It's all so frustrating. It's beyond me.
Did Jenn ever tell you about looking for Maddie or anything like that?
I asked Monday and Tuesday numerous times because I have family in the area and friends in the area that are all willing to come out and help search. And I kept asking, I was like, I can fly out. When can I come out? And she was saying nothing's organized yet. When I tried to talk to family members, they didn't have anything organized yet. And then eventually I saw that, I think it was Orange County requested that nobody be searching the area because they might get.
This is another thing that bothered me, and Jenn has even mentioned it herself in a previous interview, that when the search was going on for Maddie, she stayed put, meaning she stayed home and she didn't go out looking for Maddie herself. Now, I have never been in that situation, and I really hope I never am, but I'm fairly confident in saying that I would be out there searching. I would definitely have my phone on me. I would have someone at home to wait for in case my child came to the house. But I would be out there because who else knows my child the way that I do? And I always feel like mothers have this intuition, okay? If you don't believe that, that's fine. I believe that I have an intuition about things, and I would want to put that to use while searching. Like maybe I would see something and think, oh, that's maybe a place where my son would go. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to sit still. I wouldn't be able to stay at home. Even when police said don't search, I'd probably still be out there turning this whole world upside down to find my baby.
On a normal basis.
Jenn or Maddie? Jenn?
Jenn.
She kind of seems a little muted most days. A lot's happened to her. A lot of things have happened to her. That's been hard that'd be hard for anybody to live with. And sometimes she gets excited about things, you know. She definitely gets sad about things. She doesn't seem as outward with her emotions. You have to like look at her, but you can see like inside, like sometimes she's torn and she's damaged, but the medications make it so you can't see it. And like she doesn't show it as much as like another person would sometimes, but like when you know her, you can see it inside of her. You can see how destroyed she is. You can see how anxious she is. You know, she sometimes looks calm. And it's just one of those things, like once you know somebody for so long, like you can tell some stuff about them. But
do you think her reactions have been genuine?
I think so. I think she's just like really medicating herself right now to get through it, and therefore she's really seeming really numb right now. But yeah, I keep seeing her break down and how sad she's been, and I feel it's legitimate, but I don't know if it's my own personal involvement with Maddie and my love for her that I don't think anybody else of that could have that capability of not loving Maddie. You know, maybe it's my own naivety, but my heart doesn't tell me that. But again, not a professional.
Yeah, he basically just says again that he believes Jenn, that she doesn't show her emotions in a way a normal person would, and it's due to her medications and all of that. And I have to respect what he's saying and what he believes, but he does add there that he could also be blind to some of these things just because of his involvement and so on. So I don't know, the entire thing is extremely frustrating. I don't know what to believe when it comes to Jenn Soto. I have said, listen, I'm open to being proven wrong. But to me, as a mother, I don't know. There's some things that are just pretty unbelievable to me. But I just wanted to talk about these parts of the interview with you and just go over it. And you guys always have these great ideas and more information. And it really helps me out when I think of this, because believe me, this case has swallowed me in. I have been into this case for longer than what I've been talking about it online. And It bothers me, and it is so, so upsetting. And I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, I want to see justice for Maddie. And I really also feel bad for these people like this man, Stephen Young, who were involved but didn't see them every day. And they probably just carry so much guilt. And I know all of us wish that someone would have picked it up, someone like Stephen, but hey, listen, these people have their own lives. They have their own children. They have their jobs. I mean, life gets busy, and it's not always easy to spot something like that. And like I said before, the person who should have spotted it said she didn't. She said she didn't know. She didn't see it going on for years. Like I said, just completely frustrating, heartbreaking, and some things are just so difficult to believe. But that's going to be all for today, guys. Thank you so much for all the support and for tuning into this video. Please don't forget to leave a like and also to subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, turn on your bell notification button so you never miss an upload. I'm getting ready to film a video also about the interview the police did with Maddie's biological father. It's a shorter one, but there are some things there that we need to go over because, wow, this case is just... I'm sucked in, and I really just want to see what happens now, and that we make sure that there is justice for Maddie, because God forbid any of these monsters get away if they had any involvement. But until then, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.